I can't go on like this. Get my agent on the phone, will you? What? Okay. Hello and welcome to the Comedy Slab podcast. I'm Shane O'Connor. He's Adrian Lacey. And each week we sit back and dissect a comedy programme that we've chosen to watch and to review and to let you know whether we've enjoyed or not. It was my turn to choose last week. Oh, God, what have I done?
Hoist by your own petard.
The real problem with this podcast now is not the technicalities of recording it. It's not the creative part of what you're going to say. It's the worry I have all week when I've chosen some complete load of pony and trap for you to watch. And I'm just sitting there thinking of you scowling with your scowly face.
Feeling smug.
Yeah. It was my turn to choose last week, and I chose a new BBC comedy series called Don't Forget the Driver, written by Toby Jones and Tim Crouch.
You say new, it was April, I think it came out.
Yeah, well, I mean, like new,
That's
I've got to include
newish, yeah.
this year, isn't it, really? Don't you think?
New to us.
Yeah. It's newish, then, yeah. And we're going to have 3 clips so you can have a listen, and that might help you or not make up your own mind as to whether you think it's something you want to go and watch as well. I don't know. Do you want to? You keep doing this. Do you want to do a headline? You won't let it go, and I think.
Yeah, but you like Jeopardy before we hear the first of 3 audio clips from said show, don't you?
You see, from my point of view, I when it's you and when I've chosen it, and I want to know. But when you've chosen it, I don't want to tell you.
Well, I will be guided by you, as it's you set the homework last week for this week. You're the boss. You tell me if you want a headline now or after the first audio clip or never.
You're such a rotter.
Giving you options.
Go on. I bet you'll have done a headline, haven't you? Go on.
No, I haven't actually.
Oh.
Hopeless at preparation. Actually, no, it fleeted in one ear and out the other earlier in the day. Let me think quickly on my feet, even as I sit. I think, don't forget to commission a show with Toby Jones would be one start, but that's sitting on the fence.
Is it don't forget to commission it or forget to commission a show with
No,
Toby
don't forget to commission him, because apparently you can't get a BBC drama commission these days, comedy or otherwise, without Toby Jones in it.
Yeah, because you kind of murmured when I mentioned his name last week, didn't you? You went,
I had a murmur.
Whatever that means. Which maybe we can explore whatever that means. I don't know. But the interesting thing about Toby Jones is, though, he's been at it in minor roles for years, hasn't he? I didn't realise it. He's been acting since 1992. Really?
He's also from an acting family, isn't he? An acting dynasty.
His dad was an actor, wasn't he? I think was he his dad. Although I didn't really know, I couldn't place his dad really. But I mean, he's a trier. I'll give him that. I mean, considering
trier.
92.
Could you possibly be more patronising?
No, but 92 to 2005 in minor roles, you'd think, I've had enough now. This ain't working for me.
And especially if, actually, I mean, to be serious, I think if either or both of your parents have achieved a certain degree of success in the business, if you're still getting minor roles, I think that would make that more likely, because you just say, well, I can't compete with mum or dad, I'm just going to try something entirely different, get a job in the city or whatever. But I mean, blimey, has his ship come in the last few years? I'm only slightly tongue-in-cheek when I say that you need Toby Jones in your proposal and his thumbs up before you get a commission at the BBC. I mean, he's had a very good run, and Detectorist is just one that comes to mind. But
that's all he's done, as far as I could find. I mean, as far as TV comedy, he's done films. Like he was in the Dad's Army remake and that, but other than the TV work, I could only see Detectorist that he's done comedy wise.
I'm sure there's more, but I've seen him on the stage. He's a good
It just feels like he's in more.
No, it definitely has. Clearly, I haven't done enough research, because I should be able to come back with another half dozen things. But I've seen him at the Harold Pinter Theatre doing a Harold Pinter play, The Birthday Party, with your mate and mine, Stephen Mangan. amongst others.
Oh, excellent actor.
And he's got the acting chops. I mean, you cannot be in the West End in the lead role and just busk it. You just simply cannot.
Right.
And he was in the lead role, and he flew. And I'm not particularly a fan of his, but it's a kind of irrational thing. I've got a feeling if I met him, if he deigned to have a G&T with me, sadly I have to slum it with you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're 170 miles away. My G&T, fortunately, is only a few inches away from me, and in no way impairs my artistic judgment, Your Honour. Yeah. But I think he'd be a really decent guy. Yeah, you're right, my love. That's a callback to the IT crowd, is it not?
Yeah. Thank you,
with your unpronounceable friend. That is a lovely gag. But anyway, he's got the acting chops, to use a well-worn cliche, and I think he'd be a really nice guy. He'd have some fantastic anecdotes. For goodness' sake, he'd be observing people, not quite from the wings, but if you're in supporting roles, you've got a fair bit of time on your hands, and you would have stories. You would know where the skeletons are buried, or indeed where the skeletons sort of come out on stage night after night. So he's very talented. Am I sort of half avoiding giving you a proper headline? I sort of am. And
yeah, I have to say he's very talented, but he's no Reg Varney, and I'll explain what I mean with that. I'm serious. He's no
Ladies
Reg
and gentlemen,
Varney.
the RSC presents Hamlet, a play by Shakespeare with Reg Varney.
Well, he was a serious. He was classically trained actor.
Was it?
In fact,
Actually, don't I look silly now?
Most of the cast of On the Buses, well, I say most of the cast, Reg Varney and the guy who played Jack, I can never remember his name, God rest his soul. He was a classically trained actor.
The male
as well.
friend.
This what?
What about was that the guy with the longish face and longish hair
with the choppers?
His hapless friend. What about Olive though? I worked with her.
Anna Karen.
See, straight back.
Straight
back at you.
I don't think she was classically trained, but certainly Jack was, and I think Reg Varney was. But I'll tell you why he's no Reg Varney. You might guess it. You might guess it
because he can't drive a bus.
Well,
yes, I'm there. Am I not?
Apparently, and I found out this little tidbit, mate.
This gem, Spatchy and dicey.
Toby Jones had 3 attempts to pass his PSV license.
Well, I'm seeing contradictory stories. Yes, one he was too fast, one he was too slow, and then he met Goldilocks, and it was just right.
Did you play your version? Then? Sorry, I heard.
I'm sorry, I had blown my own trumpet, but I'm so sorry about that. I'll edit that out. People won't even know what you're talking about, but you and I know secretly.
I just put a sound effect of a giant horn in the background.
I have. Sorry, it's slight digression, but that's what this whole show is. I have on my computer a piece of audio called "Profanity Horn." I'm quite proud of the title.
Wasn't that a 1960s comedy program? Oh, no, it's round.
Well, it should have been. It should have been with Kenneth and Kenneth.
With Kenneth Horn, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So apparently he took 3 attempts to try and pass his PSV, but didn't. And
people are all thinking, "What the heck is a PSV?" And you're going to explain.
A PCV, I should say. It's a passenger something vehicle, isn't it? I don't know what. It used to be a PSV, passenger service.
If you said
vehicle.
PSV, you could have got away with something, passenger something vehicle.
Something vehicle,
but now you changed it to PCV.
Anyway, the reason I said he's now Reg Varney is because in order to enhance his role in the part of Stan in On the Buses, Reg Varney actually did pass his bus driving licence, and used to, in the films in particular, all the driving scenes, he was actually driving the bus.
It's brilliant. I remember reading an article that said they took the buses into the studio, for goodness sake, for the studio and everything. In those days, you had film for exteriors and video for interiors.
That's right. And you could tell, couldn't you? You could always tell. I always remember as a kid.
Gosh, the colour change, yeah. Don't start me. We'll be back on teal before you know it, the colour palette.
Well, because they used to have the big scene dock doors, didn't they? So they'd like, they could just drive them in, couldn't you? I mean, that's how they got the elephant that crapped on the floor on Blue Peter in, of course.
Well, and I was thinking more of Harrier Jump Jet, which was taken into Studio One at TV Centre, where I used to work at Shepherd's Bush.
I think the pooing elephant's more entertaining, personally.
Yeah, I think that's been a bit overdone. Turns out the poor elephant was rather wobbly because it was Lime Grove, and in those days the studio was not on the ground floor as it was in the purpose-built TV centre. The flipping studios were on the 4th floor, so guess what they had to do with the elephant?
Were they
going to take it up the stairs? Yeah. I mean, if you were an elephant...
Do you know it says this lift will only carry 4 persons?
Yeah, and 1 elephant.
Does that only put equals 1 elephant, or...
But if it does, you've got to have the handler with it, surely.
And a giraffe, but no neck. That's horrible, isn't it? That's a horrible thought. Anyway, sorry. Should we have a listen to a clip of this?
I think it's well overdue. If we've got anyone left listening.
This Them Thar comedy show that we're... See, the other thing is, I've got to apologise to you. We started at Series 1, Episode 5, and I think in hindsight...
That was a mistake. Was that your old friend Jeopardy kicking in?
Yeah, I just thought I'd pick a number. But there's a lot of plot we missed in between, so, although it wasn't difficult to fathom.
Telling me it had more holes in it than Emmental cheese.
Yeah. I don't know whether we should have just gone in for Episode 1, but we didn't. We went for Episode 5, and that's our bed, and we've got to line it now. Anyway, it's as I say, it's written by Toby Jones and Tim Crouch, and it's about a coach driver in the south of England. It's set in Bognor, isn't it, I think, originally? Although, obviously, because he's a coach driver, he goes off and drives to... This episode was set in Devon, mainly.
Yeah.
It's kind of his life and how he reacts to things. And one of the things he's reacting to is that he's ended up finding an asylum seeker who's stowed away in his coach, presumably when he's been to France. And he's got this young girl now sort of with him, and he's also got his mother with him, and he's also got his twin brother.
From Oz.
I'm feeling a bit sick just repeating all this.
It's complicated.
He's also got his twin brother, Barry. We'll pick up the action where Peter is driving the bus down to the model village at Babbacombe. And Barry's brother, his twin brother, is behind. He's kind of needling him, isn't he, from behind him. And he's just kind of asking him questions as they go.
What's this bit, Pete? Is this Devon? Is this Devon? Bayway. Oi, don't do that, don't do that. Woo-hoo. So, what the bloody hell are you gonna do? Can't take us all day tripping forever just because of a bit of bother in bloody Bognor. Please do not talk to the driver when the coach is in motion. I don't need it today, Barry. Lighten up, Pete, will ya? Not all doom and gloom. My head hurts. My car won't start. My house has been broken into. My job is on the line. My mother's lost the plot. I'm being hounded by 2 human traffickers, which is a first. Okay. And today I have 20 modelling enthusiasts looking to me for a fun day out. So, will I lighten up? Huh?
I wonder if that's a kind of statement of intent or lack of for the show. Will I lighten up? No. It is a very downbeat show. Now, men is the time. I'm going to revisit it, but Johnny Spate's line about tragedy and comedy are 2 sides of the same coin, and of course, every life has got elements of both. So it is part of the human experience. It's part of what comedy is and does. I just found it erred on the side of tragedy a little too much for me. I mean, bleakness, blimey, it made Mike Leigh look like, all his films look like On the Buses, since you use Reg Varney as a template. That doesn't mean it's without its beauty and its redeeming grace. I mean, we've got 2 more clips, and neither of them involve, it wouldn't make an awful lot of sense in an audio podcast. There's an absolutely beautiful sequence musically where a harp is playing. That is on the soundtrack as our man Toby Jones, the bus driver, is going down a lift, down a cliff and back up again. It is that simple visually and in terms of action. But it was transcendent in terms of what the harp was doing and where the music took your imagination. Although, of course, anything, a visual medium, yes, you see a person, but you're still not inside their head, and certainly not if they're not, we talked about narration last week, that might be a way around it, where you can say or this is what I'm thinking, etc., etc. But there were no such clues. So it has its moments of beauty and transcendence. Not to sound too, I probably do sound too pretentious. That's me. That's moi for you. But keep it in. You got to laugh. But I mean, I wouldn't recommend going to it if you're having a rough week and thinking, I know, I'll cheer myself up. I'll sit down in front of. Don't forget the driver, and that will cheer up things no end. While I think of it, on the title of the show, did you feel there was a certain nod to a famous comedy in we see a shot of a note? I mean, backgrounder, explainer to younger people who haven't had the joy of being on British coach trips to the seaside. But it certainly used to be the case that there was a little tray with a little scribbled note on it, don't forget the driver, meaning tip the driver on your way out. Yeah. And that was standard form. And I knew for people of a certain age, that would be an expectation, like you tip a cab driver, black cab driver in London or wherever. But on top of this note, so we see, as viewers, a fairly tight close-up on the note, don't forget the driver. And on top of that is superimposed the title of the show, by coincidence, don't forget the driver. Did that remind you of a certain comedy?
No, what?
'Cause it immediately made me think of Acorn Antiques, where you see the name of the shop and superimposed in wobbly overlay, I think, from memory, Victoria Wood's, pastiche of a soap opera.
Do you think it's that aware? I mean, I don't.
Well, I think I want to think it is. I certainly do, because I think there is some subtext. If we're feeling generous, and I am, and I'm not. I mean, I'm facing two ways on this show.
I can't tell you how heartbroken I am with the whole thing. Really, is that,
really,
because I'm unlike you. I'm a big fan of detectorists.
Oh right, okay. I should give it another try. I'd be very happy to slab it one week.
Yeah, we should do, shouldn't we? Because I think it'd be interesting to see Toby Jones in another light. But I just couldn't find anything at all. In fact, that clip, when I listened back to that clip, one of the reasons I chose that was because it's such a lazy device, isn't it? Again, it's that, we were talking about this last week, weren't we? The easy option, the route one kind of writing. Oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm going to do this in a minute and this is what we're doing now.
No, you say it. Yes, it's what do they call it in the trade? Exposition. I'm going to list this, that, and the other. I mean, it is now. You say it. It didn't feel too clunky to me.
Right.
I probably can't ever hear it with the same innocent ears again.
In fairness, it was only the second time through that I heard it that I thought, oh God, he's just.
That's the game he's playing. Well, interestingly, the writer, or the co-writer, I mean, Toby Jones is co-credited. There's some confusing misinformation or inconsistent information on the interweb. Wikipedia has one angle on who wrote and co-wrote different episodes, I think. One place I looked, I don't know whether it was IMDb, our old friends at Internet Movie Database, said only the first episode was co-written with Toby Jones. And then I read a piece by Mark Lawson, which is quite interesting. He's always quite thoughtful about TV reviews in The Guardian, where it seemed that Toby was co-writer throughout. But anyway, Tim Crouch, you click on him on IMDb. I mean, the thing it misses, of course, as we've mentioned before, is theatrical things.
Yeah.
But it's hot on. It's pretty. I find it pretty reliable, I think, on film and TV. It's virtually only done one or two other things as a writer. Tim Crouch, more of an actor, which of course doesn't mean that we need. It doesn't set off any red flashing warning lights on the coach dashboard. Everyone's got to start somewhere, and he might have written a ton of stuff for radio, for all we know. But you could say there was a bit of an inexperience there in terms of TV writing. In fact, in the Mark Lawson piece, they confess to as much, because the whole scene had to be dropped because of rules, not necessarily just BBC rules. It could have affected all, whichever channel it went on in the UK, about, actually the human trafficking stroke asylum seeking. They weren't allowed to mention how it was done because it was potentially libelous to coach companies and ferry companies
Right.
that they'd slipped up. That seems a bit odd to me because you could always fabricate a name of a ferry company. It's a fabricated coach company, for goodness sakes. That seems a bit odd. Anyway, that does sort of hint at inexperience. But I'm really disappointed that you're disappointed. But I have to say, I'm not over the moon about it. It's a bit too bleak. But I thought you'd like it more as the proposer.
The interesting thing is, I found was that when you look at it on paper, Perry Benson made an appearance, and I was trying to think.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Well, I love him. I mean, I think he was in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Was the first time I ever saw him. Was it? Or
He's
was it
done a
Layer
ton of
Cake?
stuff, hasn't he?
He's
been in Blackadder. He's been in some other comedy. Sorry, I've closed the page now.
I just love him though. I think he's
one of our sort of quiet national treasures, isn't he?
Yeah. And when I saw he was in it, and I thought, oh, this is going to be this will be okay. Then he'll, like on paper the cast, and I thought it could be okay. But I just the writing, the pacing. I found the pacing, and the way it was cut, the way it was edited, just so frustrating. It just sucked all the pace out of it, didn't it? Did you find that as well? It was just so slow.
But it was deliberately slow because it was deliberately downbeat. But I was tempted to ask the classic comedy slab question, which we haven't asked for a while. Is it a comedy?
Well, I think
so
it's coined
close.
a new phrase. It's a sadcom.
Sadcom. Did I coin that, did you say?
No, I wish I'd thought of it as well.
I think I did. Or a tragcom.
I read it on Internet Movie Database. Actually, somebody said this is a new genre, sadcom. And
I'm sure I've said it in a previous slab, but
yeah, I don't know
who takes me seriously?
Should we ever listen to a bit of Perry Benson anyway, just to lighten the mood?
Yeah. We should say he's got a video camera and he's got 300 subscribers on YouTube.
That's what he does. He goes out on trips, doesn't he? And he just videos stuff.
Yeah.
And then he uploads it, as he says, and so every time Perry's talking and giving a commentary, as he is in this clip here, they do that horrible thing where they put like a mock.
I was fooled for a moment. Sorry, it shows it's as if you're looking through the viewfinder
of a video camera.
I was fooled with my battery level. I was frightened it was running out. I was completely banjaxed by that.
Were you
I
watching
thought
it
it was
on the
my
phone
phone. Yeah, I was watching it. You know me, I haven't got a telly, but I've got a TV license. Yeah, I was utterly taken in by that.
I love it. Idiot. I love it. Anyway, Nigel is his character, isn't he? Perry Benson is this guy Nigel, who, as you say, has got 300 subscribers on YouTube, and he's kind of a people watcher, but with a video camera as well, as we hear in this clip, because Peter, the coach driver, Toby Jones' character, he's gone off to buy an ice cream, and he suddenly realises that he's been filmed by Nigel.
Oh, no, just ignore me. Just pretend I'm not even here. Twins.
Oh, very perceptive.
Well, that's my specialism.
Right.
300 subscribers on YouTube. I go to places, I film them, and I upload them.
Right.
I've been trying to work you lot out.
But we're not the attraction today, mate.
Very funny. No. You're grouping. Are you family? Or a club or something?
Family.
Ah, now you say it, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
See you later.
Bye. Strange fella. He's running away. Very strange energy. Anyway, back to the little people.
Well, here's the thing. Loads going on there, and I hope you will, if you haven't entirely given up on it with the one viewing of the one episode, perversely, as you say, Series 1, Episode 5, I think it's worth another delve. Having said that, I'm not sure I'm going to follow my own advice, but there's stuff going on. It's an allegory of modern Britain, I think. I mean, Greensleeves, what could be more English, as England, as opposed to just Britain? But what was I going to say about him? I think he's great, but there's so many ways we could go. But there's one thing I wanted to ask you, because I know you're a fiend for picking up on, and you've confessed on previous comedy slabs, and they're still up there in our wonderful, rich and growing archive on Spreaker and YouTube and elsewhere, iTunes, etc. Please subscribe. Not that we're desperate. No, we are desperate. But you've confessed to turning to your wife and saying, that character wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Is there a line there? Because I heard it, even as it went through the gate, me watching it for the very first time, I thought, I've now got to the point where I don't think that character wouldn't say that. I get to the point where I think Shane would say that character wouldn't say that.
Was it the bit where he said, "Oh, yeah, very funny"?
No, he says strained, but it's more than strange. It's a phrase that I didn't think he would use, which sounds too new. Strange energy. I hear that from therapists and, new agers and middle class people. I've never heard it from a working class person with a video camera like that.
Now, the reason that I didn't think that was out of place was because he'd obviously read something about body language or psychology or something like that, because he used the phrase, "No, you're grouping," which to me gave me the impression that he had some technical knowledge wherever he got that from.
Right.
That's why I didn't pick up on that.
Is he turning into a bit of a sort of amateur anthropologist? Because he does say that's what I do, picking up the detail of the twins, for instance.
Yeah, I think he's a people watcher, but with a camera. I kind of thought his character worked really, although there were points where I kind of felt a bit cringy about. I thought it was a bit overdone. When they're all. There was a chase scene a bit later on, wasn't there?
Oh yeah. In a model village, we should say.
Yeah, and he's doing a commentary, which actually exists. Have you looked it up? Babbacombe Model Village actually exists.
I'd heard of Babbacombe. I thought it was a real town, but I mean that's what they do in model villages, because there's one in Beaconsfield called Beaconscott. And my dad famously said, well, I say famously, no one else knows, but I'll tell you now. My dad loved quoting, and he did it more than once, but it was quite cute. He quoted a court case once where the judge had to ask, this was about Beaconscott, which is a model village, as I say, in Beaconsfield, which is up in Buckinghamshire, bougie part of the world. The judge in this court case had to say, just to establish, so it's on the record, do people live in these houses? And he was referring to model houses about 3 inches high.
and they wonder what's wrong with the judiciary in this country.
Well, exactly, yes. Not remotely remote.
It's a bit like Rowan Atkinson, isn't it? Not the 9 o'clock news. The deluxe is the one with the real hair. I'm not going to tell you the rest of that gag because it's a bit rude. But
tell me after we've finished. I don't remember that.
I will, yeah, I will. And he's doing a kind of commentary about them all running through it. And I thought that was a bit overplayed a little bit. But I don't know. I thought he was kind of a nice bit of light relief. I didn't laugh once.
Me neither, but I've said that before about shows, and you've said it's not necessarily about that. And
no.
It's certainly not going for laughs, so it hasn't failed on that front. It's not going for them. It's just whether people can cope with the bleakness. Sorry,
you can't do that, can you? You can't go, we've written a comedy, we're not going for laughs. Well, then it's not a comedy, is it? You can't. I mean, there was when I say I didn't laugh once, I mean I didn't. There was nothing that I felt. Sorry, I meant to mention as well. Babbacombe Village. On their website now they put as seen on BBC TV.
Oh, I was just thinking, but then we should say a bit of a spoiler alert. But I mean, people end up traipsing through it and going where you're not allowed to go as a viewer. I thought it was a bit. I wonder if that was explained to them when they said, "Oh, the BBC wants to record something here," and we should say it's a. What is it? Sisters production. I haven't got it in front of me. Two Sisters production and Hootenanny for the BBC. But when they, a location manager will have gone down to them, obviously, the rigmarole, and said, "Oh, we'd like to record here." And there is a phrase: "No publicity is bad publicity." But you do wonder when you see people on camera: did the model village think this is going to encourage vandalism and people? Sort of yomping across whole scenes.
It wasn't a great advert for him, was it? Two Sisters, by the way, and Hootenanny, they are the same. They are one in the same. Hootenanny is a subsidiary of Two Sisters, yeah. I think I've hit... last week, I think we were going to mention, we never had time. that ITV said that they weren't going to commission any comedy programs unless they got a woman on the writing team.
Oh yes, I thought that might have a reaction.
Yeah, well, no, I think this is what's the problem with the programs that are being commissioned. I think this is why they're not funny. This is why they're of poor standard. Because I looked up Two Sisters as a company, and out of the 25 senior staff that work there, only 6 are men.
And you're blaming the women for this.
I think I think the gender imbalance isn't good for the.
I don't think it should be the other way. I think
I do. I think that the gender imbalance is having it. And then I looked up the company that I can't remember the woman who started Two Sisters, or Sisters Pictures or whatever it is, came from Kudos, and I looked up their senior board as well, and they're all women. And I thought, this is why these programs are failing to land. It's because I'm serious. It's because it's a gender imbalance. In the same way that if it was all men, you go, this isn't working. Is it? There isn't a balance there at all.
No, I mean, the balance is key. It's the old British pendulum going from one extreme to another. But I couldn't say it's that because we watched. I mean, the only show I wanted to go away after slabbing in recent months and see every part was written by 2 women, and we all know what I'm talking about, which is Back to Life with the wonderful Daisy Haggard, I still
haven't watched that. Yeah,
have you not? Oh, you must do. You must. I can't believe I'm ahead of you.
No, you're right. I've got to, but
that's a quality piece of work. And I mean, how often do we have 2 female writers? Now, interestingly, the central character to that, of course, played by Daisy Haggard, is a woman. Here, of course, it's a man. So maybe, I don't know. One wouldn't want to make too many generalisations, but...
I mean, that is a huge imbalance, isn't it? 25 senior staff and only 6 are men. I think he's a massive imbalance.
Yeah, but we don't know what that's whittled down to on this particular show, do we, in terms of sort of hands-on... I can have a terrible show with men or women or any combination of the two, or you can have a fantastic show.
Well, I can tell you the producer, Holly Pullinger, has never produced anything in her own right, as far as I could ascertain previously. But
again, you've got to have a first production, haven't you?
And he's an in-house producer for that company. She actually works for Sisters Pictures.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything, does it?
Well, it does. I mean, if you're going to do a new commission like that, I mean, you're right. I mean, you kind of think you don't want. I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere. But equally, you kind of think, do you want to put somebody who's never done anything before onto a brand new production? Maybe in series 2, you'd say, okay, let's let somebody cut their teeth, or on half a series.
Maybe it's too many people doing things for the first time. If we think it was the first writing experience for Toby Jones, I believe I read in that Mark Lawson piece I keep going on about. Obviously, as I've already said, sorry? I wouldn't say that, but it's whether someone's got the humility to learn. And if you've been a star actor, you obviously referred to him being used to being in supporting roles. I've never met the guy. I don't know how he ticks, and might be the most humble guy in the world. A lot of actors are... in my experience, very sweet, very charming people. That's how they get work. That's how they stay in work. You can't upset too many people and expect to have food on the table, really, not from acting. But I think it could be a mistake, certainly, in putting, Toby Jones, first-time writer, Tim Crouch, virtually first-time writer, and as you're saying, first-time producer. That's a lot of first-time people in a big, high-profile BBC show, isn't it?
Maybe they thought that Tim Kirby, the director, with his experience, would pull it all together. Because I mean, he's been the director on all of the Stuart Lee comedy vehicle series. That's 4 series.
Hats off to him then. I love those, as you know.
He directed It's Kevin with Kevin Eldon, which only ran for 1 series, unfortunately. But
I didn't think that worked with Kevin. I love Kevin Eldon's work, but it didn't quite work for me as a solo actor.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe we should slab that one of the weeks.
Yeah, we should do. Put it on the list.
He also directed the first series of Fleabag, and he also directed You, Me and the Apocalypse. So this is a guy who's got tons of experience. So maybe they thought, well, okay, we'll put an experienced director in, and that will be enough to hold it together.
But crucially, they're directing, aren't they? They're not rewrite. Well, I mean, they can suggest rewrites and tweak things, but they're not.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's what's on the page is what counts, isn't it? Really, and that's you either do that or rewrite it, but it's what you write is of paramount importance, because that's what's on the page is what's on the screen in a way. Should we hear our final clip anyway?
I think it's high time for that before we go off on one. It's too late for that.
It was a fight. Well, I mean, their friend. I think he's also a coach driver, isn't he, Dave? Is Dave also,
or maybe ex-coach driver? I don't know, but he certainly refers to it, doesn't
he? Yeah, is it Squeaky Voice Dave? I think they call him, don't they?
Squeaky Dave, yeah.
Squeaky Dave or something like that, yeah. But this is a scene a little bit later on, as you say. This is all building up to where they all do the chase, which was only kind of missing the Benny Hill music, I think, really.
I'm missing the French maids as well.
Yeah, but this is the point that Peter, the coach driver, realises that Dave is actually working for the people smugglers.
We're both grown men. This is nothing to do with you.
It was my coach, Dave.
This is what's going to happen, right? I'm giving you a chance here, mate, to step away. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to walk her out of here, take her back to Bognor, and we'll call it quits.
What? What are you talking about?
I'm taking her off your hands, mate.
I don't want her off my hands, Dave.
She's tricking you, mate.
Right. No. We'll go to the police.
Please, Pete. I'm an idiot, you know that. They'll send her back. You want that, do you? Please, Pete, please. I'm begging you. We're old mates, mate. You got to understand. I'm the fall guy, Pete. I'm the fall guy. They're going to come and get me, Pete. They're going to come and get me, Pete. They're going to get me. She's worth money, Pete. And they want her back.
We'll buy her, Dave. We'll pay for her.
How are you going to find that sort of cash, Pete? Where are you going to find it, mate?
A cake sale.
What?
Yeah, Dad, a really big cake sale.
Yeah, a cake sale with really big cakes.
What are you talking about, Pete?
Right, we have got to address what is the title of a new panel show on Radio 4, completely obliquely, by Sarah Millican, which is called The Elephant in the Room.
Oh, God.
You were
Sarah Millican. I can't. Well, she started doing adverts now. I can't believe the voice is going like that, and it goes like dragging nails down the blackboard.
Take the Mickey man. Anyway, let's park that thought. And I was thinking of slabbing it. I'm not so sure. It could go up one of two ways. I could either wind you up by slabbing that comedy show.
Oh, please don't make me listen to Sarah Millican.
Oh,
please.
well, you made me watch this darn thing. You made me watch 2 lots of 50 minutes the other week.
Oh.
I mean, that's 100 minutes I won't get back on my life.
Oh, that's Sarah Millican.
Anyway, no, what we're going to address, this is the elephant in the room. It's the B word that rhymes with sexit. Is it either a pre-Brexit or a post-Brexit or nothing whatsoever to do with Brexit as a comedy, in your view?
Talk about seeing things that aren't there. I read, all right, it was in The Guardian, so fair enough.
It must be true. What are you doing reading The Guardian with your views?
No, I just
give you a heart attack.
Well, unfortunately, the problem is that I use Google as I'm going to change now. I'm going to use DuckDuckGo instead because I use Google as a search engine, and because that's like a left-leaning thing.
Is it?
Yeah, they kind of take all the.
Oh, it's so left-leaning that they censor their output in China just to keep the very liberal, left-leaning Chinese government happy. Do they? Do no evil. Don't start me on that.
Well, it is left-leaning. I mean, if you look at Google as an organisation, it is left-leaning. I mean, there's no
and that's why they do the Chinese government's bidding, is it?
Well, they don't do the Chinese bidding. I mean, the only reason they do the Chinese government's bidding is because there's money in it for them. That's why.
Right. So that's not particularly left-leaning.
Well, it is because it's selective socialism, isn't it? Anyway, that's
started me now. Anyway,
but if you put anything into Google, that's why it brings up The Guardian 9 times out of 10. That's the only results you get. But they're saying about something, and I think, you see Brexit everywhere. It's like looking at shapes in the wallpaper and the patterns, isn't it? It's like, I can see Brexit on the wall over there. It's in writing. Look at it. There's the B. We watched that episode. What had he got? It got nothing to do with Brexit at all.
No, and actually, I don't think it. Despite being, would you believe, shock horror, a subscriber to not Google. Well, I suppose we all are in a way. Subscriber to the Guardian, but we'll park that. No, actually, I think the biggest story for me is our coastal seaside resorts or former seaside resorts and what's going on there. That's happening anyway, Brexit or no Brexit. There is and there is a preponderance of quite relatively poor seaside towns because people are flying abroad, and a lot of asylum seekers, maybe a disproportionate amount is what I'm reading.
Yeah,
I'm not on the ground in a coastal town, but what I'm reading is that they are taking a disproportionate amount of asylum seekers and so on, possibly because they're poor. I don't know.
Right.
I'll just put that out there. So yes, I don't think it's particularly Brexit, or it's neither pro, anti, pre, or post. Particularly, it's just
it
Britain
didn't really
where we
figure
are.
in it, did it? I didn't think. I couldn't see where it did.
I
figure
thought it was
in.
trying to make some big statements. I mean, I think I referred earlier to the Greensleeves, allegedly, though probably not actually written by Henry VIII. But it is this kind of code, isn't it? It's a sort of English folk song. It's become synonymous with England as opposed to Britain.
Do you think it runs that deep, or do you think that was just like the music that one of the rides was playing?
No, absolutely. It made me ask whether it ran that deep. I don't have the answer. But here's the thing. The guy we just heard, Squeaky Dave, with his squeaky voice and desperate sounding voice, at one point, there is this chase where he's being chased. Well, there's a 3-person chase, isn't there? And he's being chased by the Toby Jones coach driver character. I've forgotten the flipping character name.
Pete, isn't it?
Pete, thank you. Sorry, you've said it about 1,000 times. It's confusing because I remember Barry, the twin brother from Oz. Anyway, Pete's chasing Dave, and Dave is chasing after our asylum seeker stroke person who's been human trafficked. And she's only, by the way, she looks to me on screen 14-ish. I mean, is it really as dark as I think it is? Do you think it could be around that, or 14 to 16? No more than 15,
and
16.
the suggestion was that she'd been sold into prostitution, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's how dark this quotes comedy is. Yeah. That's why it's a sort of, even if you could manage a laugh, you'd feel guilty afterwards. It is incredibly dark, but I also think it's quite brave. Anyway, sorry, you've got Greensleeves that's sort of ackling away on the speakers in Babbacombe, this model village. But in other parts, we cut to other parts of the model village. And this, I think, is where, I'm only guessing, I've never been to this model village, or not in my living memory. There is a Statue of Liberty, so it's clearly not just set in Torquay. And there's the Shard, which is a London skyscraper type thing by London standards, people might know. I think it's, I don't know, am I projecting onto it bigger things than the writers even had, or are they trying to make a point? At one point, sorry, this is the point, and then I'll shut up and let you have some space. Dave treads on some characters, some little model people, in his pursuit of, she's called Rita, isn't she? I suspect. I mean, she's black, and I suspect she's from a war zone. We don't know exactly where.
She's from Eritrea,
I suspect,
apparently. I read that somewhere else.
She wasn't given the name Rita at birth. Would be my best guess. So it's an English name, which is in itself, it's quite intelligent in a way. You speak to, I've taken Chinese people on a tour, and you say, "Oh, what's your name?" "My name's Adrian," and they say, "I'm Ethel," and you think, "Oh, yeah, you probably didn't start out as an Ethel. You probably think I can't pronounce your Chinese name."
In Africa, it tends to be one or two things: either that church workers will tend to influence names that people are christened by, and I've heard that happen before, and also, as you say, like people will anglicise their name. I know a lot of Asian people, when they came to this country, used to do that. I worked with them previously, and you'd say, "Well, that's not your real name, is it?" And they say, "Oh no, it's this," but nobody could pronounce that. So,
and then of course, you being a broadcaster, pronounce it perfectly,
which
throws them.
Yeah. So.
But anyway, so do you think, again, it comes back to your question, I'm throwing it back to you. When Dave treads on some model characters, is that a big, bold statement with lovely subtext and rich undertones that he's treading on people because he's prepared to sell this 14 at most 16-year-old, doesn't matter what age she is, she's effectively a slave if he literally gets his hands on her. Is he crushing people, or is that just him crushing some little models? And there's nothing more to it than meets the eye.
I don't think it is that deep. I mean, the Statue of Liberty and the Shard and all that sort of stuff, and there was also one of the castles, wasn't there? Was one of the
Windsor. I didn't clock that.
But
I mean, Statue of Liberty is all about bring me your poor, isn't it? And people coming into New York.
But I think they are actually at the model village, because I think the model village represents, so they like have an American one, and they have they might have a French one, have Paris there as well. And I think each section is, from what I can gather, is modelled on different areas. And I didn't get the sense that it was that deep. I've got to ask you, because you mentioned it earlier, and I thought, well, maybe you understand it. I didn't understand the funicular railway when he went down in it and he got to the bottom and then he just came back up again. There was that whole scene there
with the beautiful harp music.
What was that all? What did you get that at all?
Well, that's the thing that's where you've got a camera looking at a bloke, namely Toby Jones as Pete the driver, of course. You are not inside his head, and there are no clues. There's no voiceover, no narrator, of course.
Did you get anything from that?
Well, he was obviously in deeply reflective mode. I had to mug up because, of course, you've shoved us in it at episode 5. I had actually seen episode 1. I had to remind myself he's a divorcee, isn't he? Or he's separated. He's going through a classic late midlife crisis, I think, and. But, more than that, I couldn't say, because who knows what's going on in his head. I just think he was in amazingly deep, reflective, melancholic mood, which is the tone of the show, isn't it, as we're kind of touching on.
Very much so. I quite liked Erin Kellerman, who played his daughter in it. I thought she was really quite understated, and not least the fact that she's a local girl to me. She's from Tamworth. Who says you can't put your past behind you? Exactly. She's just north of Birmingham, but everybody's got to be somewhere. So
exactly.
Yeah. Time for the scores on the doors, I think. Anthea.
Yes,
I don't know.
So. Well, sorry, if you're going to mention that actress, I can't read my own notes, and I don't know if I could pronounce it. The woman who played Rita, the young woman, again, it comes up as her first TV and film role. Is it Luam Teklidze?
That's why I didn't mention her.
Yeah, exactly.
But they call her Rita.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, the young woman who played Rita, I thought she did the pathos, and I was feeling her anxiety, possibly more than she was. Anyway, scores on the doors. I'm going to give it 3 because our old friend, high production values, and I don't hate it. I certainly wouldn't, as I say, I wouldn't come home after a stressful day at the office, which for me is usually a radio studio. I wouldn't put that on for laughs. If I felt in a Mike Leigh Bleak Moments mood, I might do it. I might just dip into another one, maybe episode 2, and try and fill in some of the gaps. But yeah, I've still got this big questions we've touched on. Is it really worthy of the name comedy drama as a category?
I think to use Mike Leigh in the same sentence as this is a travesty, really, because I think Mike Leigh finds the funny side of the sadness, as it were. I think that's the one. That's his talent. That's what he does, and I don't think that does this at all. I'll give this 1.
Gosh, that's the lowest for aeons.
Yeah. And for no other reason than it was the most disappointing and terrible thing that I've seen in a long time. It was beautifully shot, which is why he got the 1. I mean, it was nice to look at. There was no question about that. But even that frustrated me in the end, because we're getting these long, lingering shots of little model characters, and I don't know. It just on every level didn't work for me. I went. We talked about Internet Movie Database, and I went to have a look just to see whether I was in the minority, and I'm glad to say that I'm not.
What's the score on their doors? Do you know?
Well, for some reason, and I'm always a bit dubious of this. For some reason, it's got a lot of 9 and 10 star reviews that came in. But if you go back before that, everyone was like a 1 and 2. So I don't know whether somebody's made a concerted effort to, make it a little bit higher in the rankings, maybe. I don't know, but it was very poorly received.
Right.
But I mean, I read a review and somebody saying, how carefully crafted it was, and it is. I mean, there's, and I mean, no disrespect to the people who made this, because they've worked hard and long to produce something that, as I say, looks fantastic. I just didn't felt that it knew what it was or what it was trying to be. I didn't think the script was clever enough. There was just so much of it that just didn't land for me. That I've got to give it a 1, I'm afraid. The second viewing, as we view them twice, don't we? We were sitting down and watching them twice. I just dreaded. I just thought, I just don't know if I can sit through this again. But of course, I had to.
You didn't have a choice. Did you see, by the way, it was the title of an episode of Dad's Army back in 1970.
Don't forget the driver, yeah. I don't.
Not to be confused with.
Because
you'd probably enjoy that more, wouldn't you?
It's a long-standing phrase, isn't it? That, but as you mentioned earlier on, but so 4 out of 10 then for Don't Forget the Driver, and we've put a link in our description just so if you want to go back and have a look on the iPlayer, then you can catch all the episodes at the moment, depending on when you listen to this podcast. Right, come on then. Next week, please don't let it be Sarah Millican. Please don't let it be Sarah Millican. Please don't let it be Sarah Millican.
Sarah Millican, the elephant in the room.
Can I just say, by the way, I thought, didn't we make a pact that we weren't going to do panel shows?
I don't know. I don't remember that, because some of them I think are, blimey, if this can call itself comedy drama, you can call a panel show comedy panel show.
I don't.
What you don't want is an intellectual sort of quote unquote type panel show or a quiz. To me, I think the genre's been ruined now. I don't know. Anyway, maybe this. Well, you write off entire panel shows.
I won't watch any of them. I don't want to see 9 out of 10 cats. Am I lying? Is these my feet? I don't.
These my feet. That sounds like one I would actually listen to.
That's a line from Father Ted, actually. That Father Jack says that. He goes, "Are these my feet?" Because he's drunk on toilet duck. Anyway, okay, no. So we'll come to that one. So come on, what you got for me, baby?
Well, if I say the words Matt Berry, where do you think that might lead?
Launch the nuclear weapons.
Well, you're quoting from Toast, aren't you? Or is that a quiz? It's not a quiz. I've got that on the brain now. A panel show. Is that Toast?
It is Toast, yeah. Yeah, he's doing a voiceover for the Royal Navy.
Well, that's just where you're wrong. Matt Berry leads... I remember now, yeah. Matt Berry leads an all-star cast as Detective Inspector Rabbit. A hardened booze hound. I love that phrase, booze hound. You know you're in the hands of a comedy master writer there. A hardened booze hound who fights crime in Victoria, London. I haven't seen it, so
I've
watch
seen the
without
trails.
Prejudice. Have you? Are they good? Are they encouraging? You're smiling.
Somebody says
I
to
can
me,
see on Skype.
Somebody said to him, "What happened to your eyebrow?" And he went, "The dog ate it last week."
Is that like the dog eating your homework?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I am, as you probably know, a big fan of Matt Berry.
But I was with someone I thought was an unconditional, no-holds-barred fan of Matt Berry the other day.
Yeah.
And when I said, "Have you seen Year of the Rabbit?" he said, "No, but Toast is coming up, a new series." He just didn't want to he didn't even want to try Year of the Rabbit. I was stunned.
How odd.
Stunned
What episode
like a
did we go?
non-halal rabbit.
It's a brand new series, isn't it, this? What episode are you going for? Episode 1, you traditionalist.
I'm afraid, yes. Well, now you've completely queered the pitch, if I may use that phrase, with your episode 5 nonsense.
Yes.
Yes, keep it simple. I'm a simple guy. Episode 1, series 1, you've got to have a system.
Can I just say I do realise the error of my ways now. So I've taken I've taken your criticism on board.
But we used to do it in the early days, didn't we? We'd think nothing of wading in halfway through a series.
Yeah.
Legs akimbo.
Yeah.
But no more, it would seem. Or no more for a while. There are some shows, of course, it's a bigger deal than others. Of course, the classic sitcoms should be self-contained, shouldn't they? That's the form.
Because the thing is, in my defence, Your Honour, my love, I think the thing is, I mean, I hadn't got a clue what it was about. I just knew it was a new comedy with Toby Jones, And I thought, oh well, okay, we'll just waz in there and let's do it, you know. But so
Yeah, you wazzed. That's where you went wrong. You wazzed when you should have whizzed.
that's
Anyway.
my defence.
We must wrap up quickly. We're outstaying our very thin, fragile welcome as it is. On social medias, we are at Comedy Slab on Twitter and likewise at Comedy Slab on Facebook. And please, please, please recommend us to friends and family, your local vicar, imam, whoever, someone at work, colleagues, etc., etc. It'd be lovely to spread the word far and wide as we go around the globe, or at least the English-speaking part of it. And also, may I say, just before you take over, Shane, with what you need to say, we would appreciate a generous star rating, if that's not tempting fate, on Apple Podcasts, stroke iTunes, stroke whatever it is.
That's, of course, if you're a dedicated fan of Bald Man Chat, then...
No, I think you shouldn't put any provisos on. We're that desperate. We'll take it from anyone.
I was trying to get us linked into a genre and see if that was
Bald sadcom.
If you want to catch up with the previous episodes, or indeed make sure that you subscribe, don't forget you can do that on Spreaker and indeed anywhere else that you normally get your podcasts, including Spotify as well. That's it for another one. So we'll be back in the next episode of the Comedy Slab podcast when we review The Year of the Rabbit with Matt Berry. I'm looking forward to doing my homework. I might do it straight after this recording.
Yeah. And my payoff is don't forget the plot driver, as unfortunately Toby Jones and Tim Crouch appear to have done, by Shane's standards at least. So look out for a good, firm matron plot driver. I hope the Year of the Rabbit provides that next time.
And from me, I'm just off to have a little cry.
And I will take any tips in my little wicker basket at the front of the coach, please. Thank you for joining us today. And it's Eastbourne tomorrow. Goodbye.